Hey class, good afternoon. My name is Xavier Adams, and this is my final speech, persuasive speech presentation. So the topic that I chose was racism will always exist no matter how hard we try. And I feel that the points that I'm going to list in my speech is going to show a very good way on how I believe that racism will exist forever. So I want to start off with what is racism? That's one of my points. Age, and then discrimination. Those are my three main points. And so I'm gonna start off with, all right. So I know everyone knows that racism occurs even now in our modern day society. And so as you can see here, I have some pictures of some indications of racism, like the Ku Klux Klan, and these are slaves, like chained. So racism. So I want to talk about what is racism first. So racism, according to the historical origins and development of racism, written by Greg M. Frederickson, racism exists when one group or historical collectivity dominates, excludes, or seeks to exclude another group based off of their differences that are either hereditary or unalterable. So, and also I want to speak about like the Rosa Parks. I feel like that was a prime example of racism, because during that time period, blacks weren't allowed, or not just blacks, colors weren't allowed to sit at the front of the bus due to the Jim Crow laws, which were they were set into place to segregate the whites from colors. And so yeah, I think that was like a good example of racism. All right, and then I want to speak about the location. So during like the segregation and Jim Crow law era, the location was like very well known that the South was more, like racism was way more prominent in the South. Like as of even now today, the most racist towns are in the south parts, the southern parts of the United States. And so I have like a little map here that shows like some places of populations of where it was heavily discriminated against during like not pre-segregation, but segregation period. And also I feel like the location was very important too, because like during that time period, like even before the Jim Crow laws, like during the Civil War era, the Northerners wanted to abolish slavery while the Southerners did not want to abolish slavery. So that was known that they wanted to keep racism. All right, so now, okay, let's talk about sexuality too. Sexuality can also lead to racism as well. So according to Open.Maricopa Education, basically it's saying that sexuality can serve for a basis of racism. It can put you in position, like say if a gay black woman wanted a job versus a white gay man, like she may not get the job because of her being a black woman and being gay. And then also, I don't think I touched up on that. The article was written in 2020, and the article name is Culture and Psychology. That's where I got the sexuality from. All right, so another reason that I think that racism will continue to go on forever and not stop. Age, like the demographics aspect of the age, ethnicity, cultural values. Those are some things that I think that are like main reasons for that racism will forever continue to go. Okay, and then according to BBC.com, written July 17, 2015, my research suggests that this was stated in the article. My research suggests that although many people remain unprejudiced throughout the world, older people tend to have the tendency to be more prejudiced against than their younger counterparts. And then so I got a picture of like different ethnic groups. This is a Native American, a Native Indian, and then this is an Indian man from India, and then also like the Jim Crow laws were like very important during like pre-integration period. So another reason I want to continue on and say age is a huge factor as well. Like when you think of it, like when I think of racism, I think of how my granddad, he tells me about how he doesn't think, like my granddad actually has talked to me now, he thinks that racism will forever continue to go on because you can never, like racism is a taught thing, it's not an inherited thing, it's a learned behavior. And if there's always older people to have an influence on the youth, then there'll always be racism. So like, you know, and older people tend to believe that that they would be prejudiced. Alright. Okay, and then ethnicity. So I have a good example of how ethnicity plays a part. So an Asian man like disliking a Hispanic could be like a good example of someone disliking someone due to their ethnicity, and then another person could be like a white parent disliking a black child. Alright. And then cultural values also plays an important role, because when I think of like quinceañeras, like in the American, okay, so like I was saying though, the quinceañera, like basically is valued differently in the Mexican culture or Spanish heritage versus the American heritage. And also another thing about cultural values I would say is like non-Muslims and prayer, how they may differentiate from different religious beliefs. All right, so now, okay, lastly, I want to speak about is discrimination and how it can affect racism. So one, you can encounter discrimination anywhere in your job setting, education, and even socio-economic statuses. All right, so with the job setting, it can mess with like getting recognition at work. Someone may deem you not as intelligent or as good of a worker due to your race. Like a black person may do something, but it may not be as credited as a white person doing it. And then, so when I read an article that was written on levineblit.com, written January 3rd, 2023, it stated that more than 55% of American employees say they've experienced workplace discrimination, and a higher number of people reported hiring discrimination. So, and then within the education systems, it happened, especially during the times that schools were starting to become integrated. And a good case of that was Brown v. Board of Education. And then lastly, I want to speak on the socioeconomic statuses. So a person may see you not as intellectual due to you being color and from a poor area. And like examples of this could be like a black man mortgage being higher than a white man for the same house. And then I really got this knowledge from reading APA.org, written in 2017 by the American Psychological Association. And lastly, this is my bibliography. Well, this here concludes my speech. And like Michael Jackson says, it doesn't matter if you say, even if my baby say you're black or white.
It don't matter. And if you see this, give my boy $100. He need $100 for this. Come on, give him $100.